Tessa came through the front door, waving a letter like she'd just been crowned. I was standing in the kitchen, pouring coffee from the pot I'd brewed at 5:30 like I did every morning. She dropped her purse, kicked off her heels, and said, "Brent, they made it official. Associate Director." I gave her a nod and raised my mug. The mug said, Field Service Summit 2019, Keynote Speaker. She thought I got it from a trade show booth. She kept going, pacing like she was too excited to sit. "We're moving up, Brent. This is it. But we need to start acting like it. You should start thinking about getting a real job. Not like tech stuff. Not field service." She said it like I was out mowing lawns part-time. "Before we start, how's your day going and where are you joining from? I'm Brent Lawson. I'm 58 years old. I live in Grand Junction, Colorado." And that moment in the kitchen, with her standing there waving that letter, that's when I knew what she really thought of me. She started name-dropping husbands. Melissa's guy is a hospital VP, drives a Rivian now. Candace's husband just launched a startup. We've got to start moving in those circles, Brent. I looked past her, out the kitchen window. The alley behind us was narrow and clean, and right across it was the brick condo I bought 4 years before we got married. Title and deed under Lawson Fieldworks. She started bragging about money. My base is up to 132 now, plus bonuses. Fat ones. I nodded again, said, "That's great." Didn't mention the retainer check that cleared last week. 268 grand for a turnaround job at a distribution plant outside Reno. She poured herself a glass of something bubbly from the fridge. "Brent, I can't keep telling people my husband is just a tech. They don't get it. It's embarrassing. You're smart, but..." I cut her off with a smile. "Congrats again. Where you want to go for dinner?" She didn't miss a beat. "Let's try Stone and Cedar. It's upscale but not stuffy. People go there to be seen." I knew that place. Loud booths, steak with gold foil, valet and dress shoes. I also knew what that dinner was going to be. I didn't argue. I just nodded, sipped my coffee, and said I'd get us a reservation. Then I walked down to the shop and pulled the quarterly numbers on Lawson Fieldworks. Just stared at them. Not because I was surprised, because I knew I'd let this story unfold exactly the way she wanted. 3 days later, I brought Tessa her tea like I always did. Black, splash of lemon, no sugar. She was in the bedroom with her laptop open and phone on speaker, voice low, but clear enough for me to catch from the doorway. "Malcolm says with the income gap, we're set," she said. Her mom, Lorraine, didn't even pause. "He barely clears 50. We'll organize the assets, then file quick." I didn't flinch, just set the tea down on the nightstand, turned, and walked out. In the hallway, I stood still and stared at the frame beach print we'd bought in Santa Barbara. I didn't feel angry, just worn out. Like something in me had already moved out before she even said the word file. They talked like I was a junk drawer. Tessa's voice picked back up. "The condo's worth about $910 now. That's ours. Then the investment accounts around $240. Lease on the BMW too. His little toolbox doesn't even break 1,000. His little toolbox." Lorraine hummed like she was taking inventory at a garage sale. "If that's the full list, it's clean. I'll tell Malcolm we're ready." That night, Tessa left for a so-called client dinner in Cherry Creek, dressed tight enough to raise questions, perfume heavy enough to answer them. Once her taillights were gone, I walked upstairs and grabbed her gym tote from the closet. Not the one she actually worked out with, the other one. The Lululemon bag that hadn't seen sweat in years. Inside was a folder tucked behind a hairbrush and a change of heels. Pierce and Wyatt letterhead on every page, retainer agreement, strategy notes. A worksheet titled Asset Positioning for Primary Earners. Half the paragraphs were highlighted in pink. I scanned fast. The keywords were all there. Reallocate, retain, presume joint ownership. Tessa had written 2 columns in blue pen. One marked hers, the other his. Under hers, condo 910K, investments 240K, BMW lease, and equity due from career trajectory, whatever that meant. Under mine, Sprinter van 6K, old tools 1K, personal checking maybe $1,800. Nothing about the EIN on the investment accounts. Nothing about the LLC that owned the condo. No mention of Lawson Fieldworks at all. I took photos of everything. Every page, every scribble, even the stupid little heart she'd drawn next to the BMW line. Then I slid the folder back in like I'd never touched it. She never asked how any of it was structured. She just assumed that if she wore the heels and smiled for the firm holiday card, the rest was hers too. Back downstairs, I opened the filing cabinet in my office and pulled the original Lawson Fieldworks binder. Articles of incorporation, bank statements, tax filings going back 11 years. Title for the condo, signed and sealed, purchased under Lawson Fieldworks in my name only. Lease agreement on the BMW was in my name, not hers. Filed clean, separate, before she ever came along. She called it our place, our this, our that. But the only thing she ever brought into the equation was an upgraded job title and a list of things she thought she was owed for it. At 10:15, she texted, "Late night. Client asked for drinks. Don't wait up." I didn't answer. I just opened a new folder on my desktop, labeled it Exit Plan, and dragged the pictures in. I kept the routine tight. Still made her eggs the way she liked. Medium scramble, dash of hot sauce, avocado on the side. Still set her mug by the sink every morning. I opened a new spreadsheet. Green for Lawson Fieldworks deposits, blue for her paychecks, red for every household expense, mortgage, utilities, groceries, internet. Then I added a fourth column, yellow for irregular charges, things that stuck out. First one, $4,800 to a trust account labeled Pierce Wyatt LLP. Memo just said retainer. Next, emerging markets fund, posted under her Amex for 1,950. She'd laugh if I asked. Say it was client meetings, strategy lunches, work dinners she dressed too nicely for. I didn't ask. I flagged and filed. At Victor and Alina Ruiz's house that Friday, I kept my mouth shut most of the night. Big place, vaulted ceilings, heavy wine glasses that clinked too loud. Victor's a tax attorney. His firm had passed me 2 industrial referrals last winter. He knows numbers. Tessa showed up in full performance mode. Red blouse, bigger heels, that perfume again. Half a drink in, she started up. "It's hard being the only one who understands budgeting," she said. "I mean, I cover most of the expenses, but Brent's happy fixing water heaters." Alina made a polite noise and sipped her rosé. Victor glanced at me, then looked down at his plate. Tessa kept going. He gets really excited about his repair calls, like when he gets to fix an elevator or something. Super cute. She didn't know Victor's firm had access to Lawson Fieldworks annuals, that he'd seen the revenue lines. She didn't know he'd personally signed off on one of my client tax structuring plans. I didn't say a word, just passed the potatoes and waited for her to dig deeper. Victor finally spoke. "Brent, didn't you just wrap a retrofit on a distribution center?" I nodded. "Yeah, cut their downtime 31%, built out a rotating maintenance schedule to keep it there." Tessa snorted. "He gets so excited about bolts and ladders." She laughed like I was a kid with a toolbox, not a guy keeping 6 plants running without losing a minute to OSHA. Victor didn't laugh. He just looked at her, then back at me, and poured himself another glass of wine. On the drive home, Tessa dug her nails into her phone case. "You oversold the handyman stuff tonight." "I didn't say anything," I said. "You know what I mean. Don't try to impress lawyers with factory talk. They don't get excited about ductwork and tools." I nodded once, slow. Not because I agreed, but because I was done talking. When we got home, she went upstairs to take her makeup off. I went straight to the garage and updated the spreadsheet, dropped in the gas receipts, added the Amazon orders, cleaning stuff, consulting books, new charger cords she didn't need, another yellow charge, one $200 flat fee to someone named Langston L., categorized as strategy. I leaned back in the work chair and stared at the screen. The blue was a thin little trickle. Green covered everything else. And still, she called it her house, her upgrades, her stability. I clicked save, opened a second sheet, and titled it Narrative versus Numbers. Next morning, I met Victor at that little spot on Orchard and 6th. Cheap coffee, no line, quiet booths. I got there early, brought the folder and the check. When he slid into the seat across from me, I didn't waste time. I pulled a $5 check from my shirt pocket, dropped it on the table. "Attorney-client now," I said. He raised an eyebrow but didn't argue. I handed him the folder, tabbed, labeled, copies of everything. Lawson Fieldworks articles from 2012, the deed on the condo under the LLC, EIN documents, brokerage account forms tied to the business, not me personally. Victor flipped through slow. He didn't skim, He read every page. When he closed it, he looked up and said, "Brent, these aren't marital assets. These are corporate holdings, titled and filed before your marriage. She has no ownership. If Pierce thinks otherwise, he either hasn't looked or doesn't care." I nodded. "That's what I figured." He leaned back. "If she files based on assumed joint property, she'll get shredded in court. But she might not even know what's hers and what's not." "She doesn't," I said. I left the folder with him, walked back to the truck, and called my sister Nora. She's a paralegal down in Phoenix, sharp, organized, used to high-drama clients and worse exes. I filled her in, every line of it. When I got to the folder in the gym bag, she cut me off. "Do not warn them," she said. "Don't correct the record. Let them file on the wrong story. If you show your cards now, they'll change strategy." "Even if they're wasting money?" I asked. "Especially then," she said. "It's not just about winning. It's about how much they bleed before they realize they lost." That night, Victor texted me a name, said he knew a PI who didn't posture, didn't push, just got what you needed and kept it off the radar. Next morning, I met Jeff Harmon in a booth at Denny's. Flannel shirt, calm eyes, spoke like he'd been listening to noise for too long and learned to talk quiet. "I need a verification," I told him. "Job title, actual status. My wife says she's an associate director. I don't buy it. Company name?" I gave it to him. He nodded, sipped his black coffee, and said, "Give me 3 days." He took down the details on a napkin, didn't even ask for a deposit, just told me he'd call direct. 3 days later, my phone rang while I was patching a utility panel. Jeff's voice was steady. "She's not associate director. She's listed as project coordinator 2. Been on a performance improvement plan since August. One more missed deadline and she's out." "PIPE?" I asked. "Formal, documented. Her manager's pushing for a transition, and HR's looped in." I wiped sweat from my jaw and looked at the ground for a second. Then I thanked him and hung up. Back home, I saved the PDF he sent. 2 pages, time-stamped screenshots, org chart copy, her name 2 levels below where she claimed. Titled it Employment Reality. Filed it next to the spreadsheet and the photos of the folder in her tote. That night, she came home late and buzzed about a senior strategy pitch she supposedly led. I nodded, asked if she wanted eggs or a sandwich. She chose the sandwich. While she watched a reality show on the couch, I updated the spreadsheet, opened a blank slide deck, titled it Counter-Narrative. I'd barely closed my laptop from the counter-narrative file when the doorbell rang. Pierce showed up early, like he owned the time. He stood there in a charcoal suit with a leather briefcase tucked under his arm and that soft, careful voice people use when they're about to take something from you and want you to thank them for it. "Mr. Lawson," he said, like we'd never sat at the same dinner table in the same neighborhood before. I let him in without smiling. "Come on." Tessa had staged the dining room like a boardroom. She'd moved the fruit bowl, wiped the table until it shined, and lined up pens like we were signing a merger. Even the chairs were angled, like she'd practiced where everyone would sit. The overhead light was bright enough to feel like an interrogation. Pierce set his briefcase down gentle. "We appreciate you meeting today." Tessa came in right behind him, phone in hand. She didn't look at me. She looked at the TV. "I put together something simple," she said, "so we can be efficient." She connected her phone to the screen, and a title slide popped up. Financial Incompatibility. Black background, white font. Like a funeral for a marriage. Pierce sat at the head of the table without asking. Tessa sat beside him. I sat across, hands flat, calm, like I wasn't fully awake. Slide 1 came up, a line graph. Her trajectory climbing steep. Mine flat, labeled 52K like it was a diagnosis. Behind the chart was our wedding photo, faded out like a watermark. My face was still there, smiling next to hers, but it looked like it belonged to someone else. Tessa clicked to the next slide. Bullet points. Professional image. Network expectations. Lifestyle alignment. Then she turned and looked right at me. "This is dead weight loss." I blinked once. "That's what you're calling it." "It's a real business concept," she said, like that made it okay. "We need a partner capable of matching pace." She meant her, not us. She'd been saying we all week, but her eyes always landed on herself. Pierce cleared his throat like he was about to read a will. "The goal today is an amicable resolution. We can avoid litigation if we're reasonable." Tessa nodded hard. "Reasonable." Pierce opened his briefcase and slid a stack of papers across the table to me. He didn't shove them. He placed them like gifts. Proposed division, he said. Condo to Tessa, investment accounts to Tessa. The BMW lease stays with Tessa. In exchange, she's offering generous temporary support while you transition. I picked up the papers and started reading. Tessa didn't wait. It's fair, Brent. I'm the earner. I'm the one with upward mobility. I can't keep dragging somebody behind me. Pierce watched me like I might flip the table. His hands were folded, relaxed. He thought he was managing a problem. I kept reading. There it was in black and white. She got the home. She got the portfolio. She got the car. She got the narrative. I got a few months of support, like a pity check and a pat on the head. I read every line anyway. I didn't skim. I checked dates, names, addresses. I made sure the wording was tight enough to matter later. Pierce shifted in his seat like my silence bothered him more than anger would have. Finally, Tessa leaned forward. So, are you going to fight me on this? Or are you going to be an adult? I set the papers down. Where do I sign? Her shoulders relaxed so fast it almost made me sick, like she'd been holding her breath and finally got what she wanted. Pierce slid a pen toward me, right here, and initialed the bottom of each page. I signed clean. Page after page, no speech, no questions, just ink and initials. Tessa's mouth twitched like she was trying not to smile too wide. When I finished, Pierce gathered the signed copies and tapped them into a neat stack. Thank you, Mr. Lawson. This will make things much easier. Tessa let out a small laugh, almost proud. See, this is what I needed. Mature. Pierce stood up, offered his hand. I stood too and shook it. His grip was firm but careful, like he thought I might break. I'm glad we could come to an understanding. Me too, I said. Tessa walked him to the door like a hostess after a successful dinner party. I'll follow up with you tomorrow, she told him. We can start talking timelines. Pierce stepped out, nodded at me one last time, and left. I closed the door and didn't lean back on it. Didn't sigh, didn't give her the satisfaction of seeing anything. I picked up my copy stack from the table, walked past her without a word, went straight into my office. I opened the drawer where the real file sat, LLC docs, deed, EIN accounts, the PI report, the spreadsheet. Then I placed their signed agreement right next to it and shut the drawer hard enough to make the pens on my desk jump. Next morning, I moved like it was any other day. Same pot of coffee, same pan warming on the stove, same bowl set out for her oatmeal. The clock on the microwave flipped to 7:41 when Tessa walked past me with her towel and went into the bathroom. A second later, I heard the shower kick on, that hollow rush of water against tile. At 7:43, her phone lit up on the counter. Pierce and Wyatt. I didn't touch it. I kept stirring the oatmeal, slow circles, dropping in honey the way she liked. 1 tablespoon, then a little more, because she always complained it wasn't sweet enough. The phone buzzed again. Same caller ID. Then a third time. Then a fourth. The shower water cut off so fast it sounded like somebody yanked a cord. The bathroom door cracked open. "Tessa?" I called, keeping my voice even. She snatched the phone and answered right there, half hidden behind the door, like I couldn't hear her. "What is so urgent?" she snapped. I heard Pierce's voice through the speaker, muffled but clear enough. He was trying to sound calm. That lawyer calm, that means something's on fire. Tessa's tone shifted in 1 second flat. "What do you mean the condo isn't in my name?" I turned the heat down under the oatmeal, kept my eyes on the pot like I was watching the bubbles. Pierce's voice carried. "It's owned by Lawson Fieldworks, formed in 2012. The investment accounts, too. You're not on any ownership documents. We drafted the proposal quickly based on preliminary information. I hadn't completed the records check yet. There was a silence that felt heavy, like the whole condo leaned in to listen. Then Tessa hissed. "That can't be right. We're married." Pierce didn't argue feelings. "Marriage doesn't change title or corporate ownership without transfers. This is all filed clean. I'm looking at it now." I poured her coffee and set it by her spot at the table. Black, splash of lemon, no sugar. The bathroom door swung open. Tessa came out dripping, wrapped in a towel. Her hair was plastered to her cheeks. Her face had that blank, stunned look I'd only seen once before, when her dad died, and she didn't know where to put her hands. She stared at me like I'd moved the walls. I slid her coffee closer. "Careful," I said. "It's hot." She didn't sit. She stood there with water running down her legs onto the floor, phone pressed to her ear. Pierce kept talking. We need to pause all filings. I'm advising you not to sign anything else. We may need to amend. I already signed, she said, voice cracking. I pulled my laptop around, opened it, and turned the screen so she could see. 2 windows side by side. On the left, her LinkedIn page. Associate Director since 2020. Big smile, big title. On the right, Jeff Harmon's report. Project Coordinator, 2. Performance Improvement Plan, active. Notes about deadlines and HR involvement. Tessa's eyes flicked between them. She looked like she might throw the laptop across the room, but she didn't. She didn't move at all. Just stood there, towel clutched tight, like that could hold her life together. Her phone started ringing again. Different name. Lorraine. Tessa answered, and Lorraine's voice exploded through the speaker like a car alarm. You got robbed! He committed fraud! He hid property from you! I leaned forward and tapped the speaker icon so it stayed loud. Lorraine, everything's filed and signed yearly, I said. Nothing was hidden. Lorraine didn't let up. You made her think it was marital. You tricked her. Tessa signed the paperwork, I said, cutting in. Every spring, Schedule K1, Schedule E. She never asked what any of it meant. She just signed wherever I flagged. Tessa finally found her voice. Brent, why are you doing this? I kept my face neutral. I didn't do anything new. I kept things exactly how they've been since before you showed up. Pierce came back on the line, quieter now, like he realized he'd been used to tell a story that wasn't true. Ms. Lawson, we're going to need to discuss what options remain. Lorraine was still shouting, but it turned into noise. Tessa's breathing got shallow. Her shoulders curled in, small and tight, like she was trying to disappear into the towel. I stood up, walked to my office, and came back with one sheet of paper. I placed it on the table in front of her and kept my hand on it so it didn't slide. She looked down. 30-day notice to vacate. Owner listed, Lawson Field Works. Her lips parted, but no sound came out. I lifted my hand off the paper and pointed to the signature line at the bottom, not for her to sign, just to show her it was real. Tessa stopped talking. Then she lowered the phone like it weighed too much, and the speaker went dead in the thick kitchen air. She didn't speak for the rest of that day, not a single word, just moved around the condo like a tenant waiting for checkout. The next morning, I saw a fresh folder on the kitchen table, different logo this time, Randall, something, and McIntyre. I didn't ask, she didn't offer. She hit 3 firms in 8 days. The first one told her point blank after reading the deed, no standing. The second said, signatures matter, even if you don't read them. The third offered her a cup of coffee, a sympathetic shrug, and nothing else. Pierce didn't call back, not once. His name stopped popping up on her screen altogether. She spent her time on the couch now, scrolling, calling Lorraine, typing things into Google like she thought the internet might undo the past 11 years. Lorraine, on the other hand, went full broadcast. She told the neighbors I'd tricked Tessa with shell games and signed her into poverty, probably while stirring her tea with that smug little clink she did when she lied. Didn't matter. Everyone already knew the truth. They just weren't saying it to her face. Linda, the woman across the hall, texted me a picture midweek. Tessa, red-faced and sweating, dragging plastic totes to her mom's SUV, back and forth. No makeup, hoodie, jeans, hair tied up. Not her usual look. Linda wrote under the pic. Didn't want to intrude, but figured you'd want to know she's loading out. I texted back thanks, and nothing more. That same day I called a locksmith, company I'd used for a warehouse install 5 years back. I don't service them anymore, which made it cleaner. No work ties. The guy came out next morning, nodded when he saw me. I remember you, he said, shaking my hand. Warehouse job in Montrose. Door wouldn't latch. You fixed it with 2 zip ties and a screwdriver. Still holds? I asked. Like a tank, he said. He rekeyed the front and side doors, quick and quiet. No small talk. After he left, I went upstairs, opened the door to what she used to call her media room, and stood there for a long minute. Shelves half empty, cords tangled, that LED wall art still blinking from where she'd last plugged it in. I boxed everything. Sound bar, gaming headset, dumb neon sign that said boss mode. Taped the boxes, stacked them by the door. Then I opened the window for some air and started pulling paint cans from the garage. By the end of the weekend, the walls were fresh. Pegboard went up. Small bench along the west wall. Proper task lighting over the workspace. It stopped being a room and became a station. Victor emailed the final wrap-up that Monday. No phone call, just a single PDF. Subject line, final order. Lawson vs. Lawson. I opened it, read slow. No joint property to divide. No spousal support warranted. Title and ownership confirmed. 21 pages of quiet proof. I printed it, 3-hole punched the whole thing, and filed it in the Lawson Fieldworks binder. Then I went out to the shop and tightened every bolt on the van, even the ones that didn't need it. That night, I lay down and didn't stare at the ceiling. No perfume in the sheets. No soft lecture about image. No talk about optics or who we needed to impress this weekend. Just the sound of rain tapping the windows and my phone on silent. I slept straight through, first time in months. The week after the final filing, I got a call from a number I half recognized. Brent, it's Denise Park, Culver Logistics. I straightened up in my seat. We've got a multi-site contract coming up. Warehouses across 5 counties. Basic maintenance, but we need someone reliable. Honestly, she paused, I always thought you were the real deal. Just took the rest of them a minute to catch up. We met for lunch at a diner by the highway. I brought mock-ups, references, pricing sheets. Nothing glossy, just clean, straight numbers. She looked them over once and said, we'll send over the paperwork Monday. I hired 2 techs that week. Travis, 33, solid on diagnostics and knew control systems better than most engineers I'd met. Used to run service calls for a hospital group. Eli, 28, fast learner. Not afraid to get under a unit in the rain. Didn't talk nonsense. Didn't flinch when I said the job came with real hours and real pressure. Put them both on W-2s, not contractors. Gave them health, dental, and a mileage stipend. Everything ran through the LLC, clean and traceable. We moved Lawson Fieldworks into a shared space on 9th Street. Nothing fancy. Couple offices, a big workbench, decent parking, no receptionist, no glass walls. Just good bones. I kept my desk simple. Laptop, stapler, stack of paper I actually used. Put a whiteboard on the wall with color-coded task rows. Coffee pot in the corner, decent brand. Didn't taste like burnt tires. Travis brought in a Bluetooth speaker and asked if music was cool while we worked. I said sure, as long as the job stayed sharp. It did. 3 weeks in, Victor called. I've got something you might want, he said. The city's putting out an RFP for retrofit work. 5 rec centers. Old HVAC, busted lighting, bad water flow. They'll want energy-efficient everything. He emailed the scope. I read every line, ran the numbers, cut out the fluff. No optimization fees. No green-friendly tax fluff. We bid it straight. Beat the nearest proposal by 11% on value. 2 days later, we won it. I called Travis and Eli into the office and laid the plans out across the desk. We're gonna move quick and honest. Don't cut corners, don't talk big, just do the job right. They nodded. No cheers, no fist bumps. Just a look between them, like they understood what it meant. That Saturday, Alina Ruiz invited me to a small dinner. Just her, Victor, and 2 other couples. We sat outside. String lights, fire pit, quiet music. Everyone polite, but not fake. Alina lifted her glass mid-meal. To quiet competence, she said, looking right at me. We're glad to know you. I raised mine back. Thanks. Means a lot. And it did. They didn't ask about Tessa. Nobody brought up the headlines Lorraine had tried to spread. Just conversation about city projects, property taxes, and who makes the best smoked ribs in town. Later that night, I walked home alone. Streets were cold, sky clear. The air felt new, but not loud, just quiet. I unlocked the condo, sat at my desk, and stared at the monitor. Then I grabbed a sticky note from the drawer and wrote 6 words in black Sharpie. Breathe, don't announce, just move. Stuck it on the top edge of my screen, right under the Lawson Fieldworks logo. Next morning, I made coffee and didn't think about the past. The board had 5 jobs posted. The techs were already texting in supply orders. I looked out the window toward the alley, then rolled up my sleeves and got back to work. About 6 months after the morning with the towel and the phone call, I ran into Tessa at the grocery store, frozen section. She was holding a bag of steamable broccoli and wearing a polo shirt with a bank logo stitched over the chest. Name tag clipped to the collar. No blazer, no heels, hair tied back. Her eyes caught mine, and I nodded once. Hey, she said, voice light. Didn't think I'd see you here. I shrugged. Still eat, I said. She gave a little laugh. Yeah, same. I'm between departments right now. Restructuring. They're figuring it out. I let that hang. She adjusted her name tag. After a pause, she added, I usually just say we divorced because we were financially incompatible. That sounds clean. I nodded. Yeah, that sounds accurate. She blinked, maybe expecting more. I didn't offer it. I paid for my groceries and drove home without thinking about her again. Back at the condo, the one with the creaky chair and sunlight that hits around 2 in the afternoon, I checked the punch lists Travis and Eli had submitted. We were ahead by 2 days on the school retrofit job. Denise had emailed a new scope that morning. Solid margin, no fluff. Same old mug sat on my desk. The one from the maintenance conference. The one Tessa always assumed was swag from a booth. I don't keep titles on the wall, just permits, final walkthrough approvals, and inspection cards with green check marks. Clients don't ask for resumes. They want to know when the lights come back on and the air stops squealing. That's all I ever wanted to be measured by. People ask sometimes if I feel vindicated, if I feel like I won. Truth is, I feel settled. I didn't win big. I just didn't lose what wasn't hers. The eviction notice wasn't revenge. It was a boundary, with a date and a paper trail. The paint job wasn't some emotional cleanse. It was primer, then color, then dry. If there's any payback in all this, it's this. I get up at 5:30, brew coffee, check the board, put in the miles, answer my phone when clients call. At the end of the day, the numbers match the work. That's enough. Lorraine can tell whatever version she wants over iced tea at her bridge table. Tessa can put whatever title she wants on her LinkedIn. My contracts still get signed, and every time I lock up a job site, keys in one hand, checklist in the other, I think about how quiet power doesn't need a stage. It just needs a good wrench set, clean books, and a door that closes when you want it to.